Hey everyone, did you know that a lot of the time you don't need to be guilty of anything to lose, in essence, everything? You don't even have to be charged with a crime. Here, in the United States, the government uses two methods to seize cash or other property. The first method is called criminal forfeiture, and that requires that a person be convicted of a crime before his or her property is taken. But the second, more controversial method is called civil forfeiture, which requires neither a conviction nor any proof of wrongdoing. Think about how insane that is. I mean, with civil asset forfeiture, police can take your property based on suspicion alone, and they can just keep it. She looks suspicious of something, take her jewelry. And then, even if you are innocent, it's up to you to prove it. And this isn't a glitch in the system or anything. This is the system. And it's made police departments across the country billions of dollars, often from taking from people who have done absolutely nothing wrong. And you might think that this video doesn't pertain to you because maybe you don't carry large amounts of cash or you're not a criminal, but it's not a crime to carry cash. I mean, within the US, it's legal to travel with any amount of cash domestically. Flying, driving, it doesn't matter. There's no limit. So imagine that you're coming home from a casino after having won some money. Or, you've just sold a vehicle and the buyer paid you unexpectedly in all cash. Or maybe you won your fantasy football pool and the buy-in was like $1,000 a person. Who knows what the reason is, and who cares? Regardless, you have cash. This one time. But the next thing you know, you see flashing lights behind you and you're about to be pulled over. Shouldn't be a big deal, right? You haven't done anything wrong. You don't have anything in your car. Maybe you were speeding a little or you had a taillight out. Who knows? But now, that money you have can be legally stolen from you for no reason at all. And thinking about that possibility should bother you. It also should bother you that this happens every single day to other innocent people. So what am I talking about? What exactly is civil forfeiture or civil asset forfeiture? Civil asset forfeiture allows law enforcement to seize cash, vehicles, property, anything, without ever charging the owner with a crime. They don't have to convict you. They don't even have to arrest you. In fact, the case isn't filed against you at all. It's filed against your property. That's why the court records often sound ridiculous, like State of Oklahoma versus $53,000 in U.S. currency, or the State of Texas versus one pearl necklace, things like that. The practice dates back to medieval times, but gained popularity in the U.S. in the 70s or 80s during the war on drugs. And things only got worse during the Reagan era, when he signed the Comprehensive Crime Control Act, enabling officers to seize money from anyone and everyone suspected of a drug crime. Also, in '84, it was decided that police agencies could keep the money seized during asset forfeiture and partnered it with the federal government, making things only worse for citizens. So to recap, you're not entitled to a public defender once your money gets stolen, and the burden of proof is reversed. You have to prove you earned your money legally, or you'll never get it back. And oftentimes, regardless of whether you can prove you're innocent or that you earned it legally, you don't get your money back anyway because it'll cost too much to even try, and that's done on purpose. So some startling examples include Wayne County, Michigan. In 2021, the forfeiture unit impounded hundreds of cars, many from people who were never charged with a crime. One man had his vehicle seized for allegedly picking up a sex worker. And he was never arrested. His car was held for over a year, and he had to pay thousands to retrieve it, and he hadn't picked up a sex worker. Or in Muskogee, Oklahoma, a driver was pulled over and had $53,000 in cash seized. No charges, no drugs. The cash was intended as a charitable donation of all things. And it was only returned after national media got involved. And there's tons of small towns all over the country that make 25% or more of their yearly revenue, at least for the police departments, from civil asset forfeitures. That's insane. I mean, sometimes it's built into their budgets before it's even stolen, but I'll get to that. Or there's the tiny Texas town, Tenaha, who would often threaten drivers they'd pull over with losing their children or getting thrown in jail or other atrocious blackmail tactics in order to seize people's property, any cash they found, anything, and make them actually sign it over. Between the years of 2006 and 2008, they seized over $3 billion No, 3 million, and nearly every person this happened to was either Black or Latino. I don't know that this could be called anything other than theft, or as it's been referred to in the past, clear highway robbery. One time there was a couple pulled over there and they had $6,000 of cash on them, and it was taken with the threat that their children, who were also in the car, would be taken and put in foster care if they didn't sign it over. Since then, there's been an ACLU class action, and there's been some amendments to civil asset forfeiture in that town, but I mean, it's been really hard to make progress with this anywhere. So there's Stacy Jones, and in 2019 in Tennessee, she was a Black woman from Texas, driving to buy a car in Tennessee, and she had $16,000 with her. Police stopped her for driving too close, searched her car, and just took the money. She was never charged, but fighting it would have required hiring a lawyer and traveling 400 miles away for court. She never saw her money again. Or Xavier Gonzalez, he was from Texas, and in 2018, he had been a roofing contractor, and he had been paid in cash for a bunch of jobs. He was pulled over with $10,000 in payroll funds, and police just took it without a warrant or, without anything. There were no drugs, no charges. The money was never given back. Or Lyndon McClellan from North Carolina. He was a small town convenience store owner, and he regularly deposited just under $10,000 at a time. That was often done by people to avoid any bank fees, and the IRS accused him of structuring and seized his entire account, $107,000. He wasn't charged with anything, and it took a year of pressure from the public and the media to get the money back. Or in Nevada, there was Stephen Laura. In 2021, he was a Marine vet, and he was traveling with $87,000. And it was all of his savings. He was trying to buy a home near his daughters. He had receipts from his bank. He had payroll records. He had no criminal record, no drugs. I mean, he was a retired vet, or maybe he had been injured. I can't remember. But I mean, they took all of his money. He hadn't done anything wrong, and he had to file a lawsuit. I mean, there's hundreds or thousands of unbelievable stories like this of completely innocent people just getting legally robbed by police officers that pulled them over, or the government agencies that are also allowed to do this, like the IRS or the DEA or any federal government agency. They also are able to wildly abuse their power and use civil asset forfeiture to just steal from people. It's totally absurd. And to make matters even worse, if that's possible, it's not just small towns or highway patrols doing this or the government agencies. Civil forfeiture has become a cash cow in places like Vegas or major airports, where police target travelers and tourists carrying large sums of money, or even small sums of money. At airports across the U.S., law enforcement officers, often working with the DEA, routinely scan for passengers traveling with large amounts of cash or small amounts of cash. No drugs, no criminal activity, no criminal history, just money. There was one traveler at Charlotte Airport who had $115,000 seized. Another at Chicago's O'Hare Airport lost $30,000. In both cases, they were never charged with any crimes. I mean, they hadn't done anything wrong. They just got their money taken, and they didn't get it back. Agents often approach travelers who've cleared TSA, and they ask them vague questions, and then they seize any cash they suspect might be linked to drugs, even without evidence. I mean, So in and around Las Vegas, law enforcement agencies have repeatedly seized large amounts of cash from winners, gamblers, and tourists, especially when they're on their way back out of town. In many cases, travelers headed home after winning at casinos have had thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars taken from them, simply because they chose to carry cash. And some, I think most actually, never get it back. Others spend years in court trying. And these travelers weren't trafficking drugs, they weren't buying drugs. Instead, they were often middle-aged professionals, retirees, or even international visitors simply carrying cash after a win or after a vacation. And to the system, a civil asset forfeiture, that's good enough to justify taking it. And the worst part is that it seems impossible to actually make any progress against these predatory practices. Because now, even in states that have restricted or banned civil asset forfeiture, law enforcement can still use it by partnering with the federal government. This happens through a program called equitable sharing. Doesn't that sound nice? Sharing. And here's how it works. A local police department seizes someone's cash, car, boat, whatever, jewelry, whatever, and instead of processing it under state law, they hand it over to the federal government, usually the DEA or, like I said, another agency. And then the federal agency adopts the seizure, and they're able to keep up to 20% of it. Then they send up to 80% of the money back to the local police department, and the local cops, they get paid. The state laws are totally bypassed, and the victim still has to fight the seizure, but now in federal court, which is a longer, harder, more intimidating and more expensive battle. So let's say you live in a state like New Mexico, which finally banned civil forfeiture unless there's a criminal conviction, which, that seems like that makes sense. But cops there can still seize your money as long as they route it through the feds. So the state's protection practices totally bypass. Doesn't help you at all. So what's the bigger picture here? From 2000 to 2019, police agencies seized over $68.8 billion through civil asset forfeiture. That's a huge amount of money. And many departments budget for that money before it's even collected. They'll use it to pay for vehicles, for office snacks, guns, salary. They use it for salaries, for bonuses, for whatever. It's literally legalized theft. And the police are incentivized to do this because they get to keep the money. So it's freaking insane. Some people that, retired police officers that were really good at it, they've moved on and become consultants and started companies where they teach other police officers in other places, how to do this most effectively or how to make more money with civil asset forfeiture. And then they get 25% of what's been seized for that year, or that month, or whatever. Doesn't it sound a little bit like a conflict of interest? Hey, the more people you pull over and search, whether you have reasonable suspicion or not with them, well, whatever you find, you get to keep. And 9 out of 10 people, they won't go to court to fight for it because it's too expensive. And so, yeah, the people that are hit hardest are poorer people or middle-class families, people who can't afford a lawyer or don't have the time to fight for what's theirs, to travel out of town or out of state multiple times to go to court again and again because they just make it as difficult as possible. And like I said, because you have to prove your innocence, the burden of proof is flipped. You can't get a public defender or anything. Everything's different with civil asset forfeiture. It really doesn't make any sense. And they say this is about fighting crime, but how do you fight crime? By punishing the innocent, stealing from the innocent. How do you justify taking money from veterans, from moms, contractors, tourists, people who were never even charged with crimes? Because make no mistake, this isn't about guilt. It's totally about profit. It's crazy. I had something that I wanted to read because I hadn't put it in here. But, yeah, so according to an investigation, some police departments have a wide-ranging definition of necessities, and officers in Maryland bought a $1 million mobile command center. The Los Angeles PD treated themselves to a top-line $5 million helicopter. A small outfit in Douglasville, Georgia, a town with a population of 32,000, purchased a $227,000 armored personnel carrier fit for World War III. And most of the time, departments are racking up millions, in small seizures. I think that I read a stat that said that actually most civil asset seizures are for amounts under $9,000, so it's hardly to fight huge drug kingpins or drug rings the law was intended to do to cut down on big drug crimes. Now it's just everyday citizens, and they're getting small amounts of money taken and they can't get it back. I don't know. It's infuriating. I mean, it should be. Is it infuriating to you? Did you know much about this? I don't know. I guess the only advice I have is to just be sure to never consent to having cops search your vehicle or your stuff or your person. I mean, make them get a warrant. Make them bring the K-9 unit. Don't make it any easier for them to rob or arrest you. And, like, these seizures are incredibly hard to track because there's no, like, states often, like, report their numbers differently, or they're not required to report them at all. So there's no, like, national database where you can look and see, like, how much has been collected annually or how many people have been searched in whatever location. I mean, I know some places are known to be worse than others, like Massachusetts is bad, New York is bad, Texas is bad. Like, the bigger states or states with big cities are known to be among the worst. Washington's also been really bad, but because, like, sketchily they don't really have to have, like, send in concrete numbers of pertaining to civil asset forfeiture, it's really hard to get any, like, believable data, so, like, year to year. So that's pretty frustrating, and that's cause for concern on its own. I don't know. If this video outraged you, it should. And I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's been really hard to make any headway in getting this, I don't know, getting this, like, cut back or giving rights more citizens for it, because every time, like, a state legislator tries or, you know, government officials try, then they just get totally railroaded by the federal government. Like, there's that loophole sharing with the feds. And most places don't even want to make it better because this is how their police departments are funded. So, or in large part, how their police departments are funded. So I don't know. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think, if you knew much about this or if it's kind of new to you. I know there's been a ton of articles about it and stuff, but I don't know how many of you have read those articles. I just felt like it was pretty fitted for this channel. So, as always, I'm Caroline. This is Hidden Headlines. I appreciate you staying and watching till the end, and I will see you all soon.